Shane Wolf is the worldwide president for U.S. Brands Professional Products Division at L'Oreal. A trained hairdresser, he has spent over 28 years in the professional beauty industry, holding a wide variety of leadership positions across our beloved industry. He's worked with top professional brands such as Redken, Matrix, Biolage, Kerastase, Pulp Riot, and Mizani. Throughout his career, he has been inspired to build brands with a mission to improve the world through responsible production of products, innovation to reduce environmental impact, and social causes. Shane currently sits on the L'Oreal Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Board, which brings together a brilliant and diverse group of external experts and members of the L'Oreal leadership to foster open discussion on how to strengthen L'Oreal's commitments and enrich diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies. Shane has created a diversity and inclusion committee across the professional products division's U.S. brands, which also works to educate, inform, and instill positive change for more inclusive brands, which we love. Shane is here to talk on behalf of Redken, the #1 professional hair care brand in the U.S., which recently conducted a survey that revealed a staggering 100% of stylists have been bullied in the past. Wow. With this stat in mind, Redken launched Hairdressers United Stand Together Against Bullying, an initiative focused on amplifying hairdressing as a safe space for the LGBTQ plus community, both for stylists as a workplace and for clients in the actual salons. Redken is leveraging the brand's reach to collect and share stylists' personal stories of overcoming bullying and how it got better for them when they found a community where they felt safe, authentic, and embraced, just like ours. Redken has partnered with It Gets Better Project, a global leader in empowering LGBTQ plus youth, to share those stylist stories of hope with young people. The message to them is twofold. One, it gets better. And two, there is an industry that will embrace your authentic self. We at the Tees are here for shouting at the rooftops. Couldn't be more excited to welcome you, Shane, to the pod today. We've chatted before we went live, and I think we're going to be a hit together. What do you think?
Amazing. I mean, I'm having the time of my life. I hope we can stretch this for the entire day, because I'd much rather be here with you than all the meetings I have scheduled after this. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's cancel those meetings. No.
Rudy and I are both in big trouble with my assistant right now.
I know. I'm sorry in advance, but I'm all for, continuing the party. So that was quite a bio. You have had a very fruitful career. Let's take it all the way back 28 years ago. What got you started for the love of hairdressing?
Oh my gosh. Well, now that we've admitted that it was 28 years ago, it was, I didn't intend when I hear hairdressers talk about how they always knew, I'm so envious of that. I didn't. Actually, wow. I was headed down a totally different path. I was going to be a broadcast journalist. And and then I met somebody who was a hairdresser and just really connected with his circle of friends and with the community. And I decided to try beauty school sort of on the side almost. And I've never left the industry. It's so funny, Kelly, that there was this moment, I can remember it like it was yesterday, not 28 years ago, like it was yesterday, when I came to the conclusion that I could either look like Walter Cronkite with a houndstooth jacket and a comb over talking about what's next on the evening news, or I could look like these amazing people, they were like tatted up with the crazy hair, and they were just their own authentic selves. And I thought, wow, these are my people. This is my place. And so I went into the beauty industry through school, as a stylist, later as a salon owner, in the field in sales and education, and then ultimately through the journey internally through product development and brand marketing. I've never looked back. I've been asked multiple times in my careers if I would switch gears into another channel, like in the consumer channel or the luxury. There's zero chance. The hairdressing community, these are my folks for forever.
Yeah, I love that too. It's hard to explain to someone who is outside of the industry the love and passion and camaraderie that is in this industry. It's unlike none other, right? Just simply the generosity and the giving and the education is wild. And I agree, once you're in, why would you leave, right? Why?
It's just it. I know we'll talk later today about the sort of impact of bullying and in the larger community and in our industry. I myself was I'm from a very small town in the Midwest.
Okay.
And what I always say about the town I grew up in, there was one of everything. There was one stoplight, there was one place to get food, one place to get gas, except there were two things where you had more than one of. We had two grain elevators. So for
Yes.
people who don't know what that is, the big towers where the wheat gets put in to be processed. We had two of those, and we had three churches. Now I don't know why, as a town of a few thousand people, we couldn't agree on one, but we had three. Everything else we had one of. So for me,
Yeah.
growing up as a person who was quite different from everyone else, who expressed myself differently, it was tough. And so when I left there and showed up in the hairdressing world, on day two, I was elected as class president in my beauty school class. I'm like, what are you talking about
Yes.
me? Like, you're talking about me, the guy that's never spoken, so the
Wow.
hairdressing industry, I knew from day one was a place where I could truly be my authentic self, and where I
Yeah.
knew everybody was invited to be exactly that. So it's something that for those of us who come from a background where we maybe didn't always obviously fit in, it doesn't matter who you are, you fit in here.
Yeah. I love that so much. And, you know, a little bit about myself. I also grew up in a small town in Iowa.
Oh, close. I was from Kansas. We were neighbors.
I feel like we might have had a parallel path. And there was also one stoplight. So I do certainly understand sort of like breaking free from the constraints of limited perspectives
Sure.
and people, right? And so I love that for you. That's amazing. So then when you transition to more of the business side, tell me about that journey, if you will.
Yeah, for me, I loved this industry so much, as I said, but I have to say I wasn't the strongest technical hairdresser. I wasn't very patient. I
Mhm.
was a great colorist. I was a really great colorist because I used both sides of my brain for application on one side
Yeah.
and formulation on the other. But I wasn't the greatest stylist, and so I was very frustrated with that. What was crazy was I had a full book of clients. I could rebook everybody. I sold them like multiple pieces of product each on their way out the door. I upsold them to better color surfaces. But as they were walking out the door, I'd always see that one piece of hair hanging down in their bob and think, oh wow, she
Oh,
deserves so much better than that. So I knew maybe that wasn't the part of the industry where I would bring the greatest value. But the fact that I was so into the product and into how things worked, the science and the artistry of formulations and the selling of those products. I loved the process of prescription, of helping clients to find solutions for their challenges. My
sure.
favorite was when the client would say to me, well, I'll never look like it'll never look this good again. Some hairdressers think that's a compliment. I thought it was the greatest challenge. I
Mm,
was like, this is great. You don't think that you can do this, because actually I'm going to teach you that you can.
that's
So let's put
awesome.
the brush in your hand and let's
Yeah.
put this product. And so I sold a lot of products, and I knew that that was the side of the industry that I belonged in. And so I
Okay.
went into education for Matrix when it was still owned by the Miller family. And I was a
Wow.
regional manager, education manager in the sort of middle part of the country. And there I just really found myself in that. The idea that I could help other hairdressers to see opportunity for themselves and for their
Yeah.
clients, I loved. So I did education for quite a few years in a couple of brands after Matrix had been acquired. And ultimately, through that process, I would start to be pulled into discussions with product developers
Hmm.
about formulas and what would work and what wouldn't. And at a certain point, I was like, hold on a second. Why are you being paid to come up with this? And I'm telling you what we need. So I started making that move over. I had to take a step back in my career to sort of
Okay.
restart my level over, if you will, because I was quite senior in education at that point. I had to
Okay.
take a step back to rebuild it. But I really found my love language, because here I could really discuss with the labs on one side and with hairdressers on the other side about what would make a difference for you,
Hmm.
what kind of product would make a difference, and how would it behave, and how would it feel, and what would it smell like. I loved that so much that I really kind of grew up then through product development into
Yeah.
brand marketing, and then ultimately into a general manager and now president role over 7 brands. So I
Wow.
will say that sometimes I miss I miss those meetings with the labs. The thing of becoming a senior is that I don't really get to do as much anymore of what
Sure.
caused me to do this career journey in the first place. But every now and then I drive my teams crazy by reasserting myself in the process.
Amazing. I love that for you, but not for your team.
Yeah. They appreciate your empathy. Too bad.
Once a creative, always, right? Or
Absolutely. And what they hate the most is when they're on calls with me and they see I've got my mannequin and my mannequin stand out and I've got their formula sample from the labs and I'm actually blow drying it into mannequin hair. They're like, oh no, now there's no turning back from this.
Who invited him to this meeting?
And more importantly, who invited Viola the mannequin to the store?
So, worldwide president of the professional products division in the U.S. brands,
Yes.
What does that mean to you? Tell everyone, what that role encompasses.
Well, first, I will just say it is such an enormous honor on one side and responsibility on the other. I believe that brands in our industry have a fundamental obligation to bring value to everybody in the equation, including the hairdresser, the salon owner, the salesperson at the distributor, and of course, ultimately with the client in the center of that wheel. So this notion of benefiting all is something that we really spend a lot of time talking about. How does everything that we're doing benefit everyone in that equation? And so I would say that as much as it is a huge honor to have responsibility to drive the future of the brands themselves, and they're everything from very big brands like a Redken or a Matrix that we'll talk about today, and then brands that are more in their infancy, like a Pulp Riot that is only a few years old. So it's super exciting on one side to be able to press on different levers at different times, given where brands are in their development. And at the same time, always with the same intentionality around benefiting all, and especially to the hairdressing community.
Sure. That's amazing. Thank you for that. Well said, of course. My one question for you is I see this creativity and this spark, and we're going to talk about Hairdressers United next, but do you miss being a hairdresser?
No, because I still am.
Okay. I was going to say, do you do
absolutely
friends, family? Like, what's the jam?
Well, we had our annual global sales meeting this year with thousands of people that come to Paris. It's a big deal. We held it at the Louvre this year. It's kind of a big deal. That one time a year when you splurge on the new outfit?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, it's my once a year. Just don't. I say to my husband, don't talk to me about these receipts. We're not having a discussion about this. I must look fabulous. So it's that kind of event, and I opened the event this year cutting hair because amazing. I wanted the entire organization globally to remember that for all of our brands, it all starts in the salon. And so we actually opened it that way. It was, for me, it was a great deal of fun, of course, because it's been many years since I've been on stage cutting hair.
Right.
But no, I'm still very involved. I love it. And yeah, anybody who is willing to be victimized when you come into my home, you'll come out looking different than when you arrived. That's for sure.
And I've got to think that you've refined that last hair that's sticking out on the bob, right?
Well, I haven't committed to the fact that I'm going to overcome this challenge. It will be a work in progress through my entire professional career, I'm certain.
I love it.
But I'm not giving up.
No, I don't believe that you would.
No.
I don't think that's in your wheelhouse.
Definitely not.
So if we transition a little bit to Hairdressers United, tell me a little bit about how Redken has partnered with Hairdressers United to combat bullying.
Sure. Hairdressers United is a new initiative for us. And the intention was to really amplify the hairdressing community as a whole, as a safe space for persons from the LGBTQIA plus community, both from a professional workplace point of view and also for the guests in their salon as a safe space to come. So there are sort of two major components. On one side, it's about helping hairdressers to understand that when you embark on a career in the hairdressing industry, you will find a place where it is safe, where you can be your authentic self, where you will be embraced exactly as you are. And at the same time, to ensure that everyone in the hairdressing industry feels equipped, or that they have access, if they choose to be equipped, to be a safe space for consumers. And so we will be creating on one side a bank of videos from hairdressers explaining to young people that when you join us in the hairdressing industry, this is a safe space. It does get better. And on the other side, an education module for hairdressers who want to learn how to create an environment in their salons where consumers may want to come because, for example, if someone is transitioning in their gender identity and they would like to find a place where they can find a gender affirming haircut, for example, we'll train people how to do that.
Amazing. And I've got to feel like you're first out the gate from a brand perspective to do something like this.
Yeah, the It Gets Better project, it has been around for several years. I was involved with them personally some years ago in the early days of It Gets Better. I recorded a video that I can't even find it now because it was one of the very early ones. So I think it's gone off the platform. I'll have to do a new one now. Because it really spoke to me personally. This notion that if you can simply have someone remind you that these years you're facing right now, they're temporary. Yeah. And they're going to build your character for the future, and it's going to get better. So we've been involved with them early on, and I will say that It Gets Better. I'm so impressed with what they've done as an organization, how they built themselves into a brand, which is so important because if you want to reach people, you have to be a brand that people recognize. Totally. And I think they've done a great job. Well, as you well know, because you've built yours on the same principles. It Gets Better has done that successfully to be a place where young people who are facing the challenges of bullying, who aren't sure that their lives will ever get better, that they can find a place. And I think that through the process of It Gets Better growing, they have brought in a lot of companies, individuals, celebrities, politicians who have come on board to be part of this story. Where I think the Redken It Gets Better project, Hairdressers United Against Bullying, is specific, is that we're trying to create a chapter within It Gets Better, specifically to say, come to the hairdressing industry because we are a community of people who will accept you.
Yeah. And I love that. I think the more, consumer facing messages about our beautiful industry and how to be a part of it, the more we can do, the better, right? To destigmatize, should I go to a 4-year or should I go to beauty school, to talk about the career and the acceptance and the path that you can have. Certainly no one better than you to shout that from the rooftop. So congrats on that. That's amazing. What do you think is the future of the initiative and Redken's commitment with the initiative?
Well, this is our inaugural year. And so, as I mentioned, there are these sort of two components. And there's one that I would really love your help and the help of everyone who's listening here to achieve. And that is that we want to create this library of videos from people who are recording themselves, explaining their own story and about how, when they joined the hairdressing industry, it got better for them. The story I mentioned to you about when I arrived in beauty school and suddenly I went overnight from being the most bullied kid in school to being the next day elected as the class president of my beauty school class. Like that crazy stuff, that happens in our industry. Like overnight in our industry, you are embraced wholly as you are. So what we're really hoping that the industry will do for us is to be part of the opportunity to really amplify this message. So Kelly, thank you to you for having me on so that we can tell this story. And my challenge to the industry is if we can convince people to join us telling their own story of how they came into the hairdressing industry and found a place where they could be their own true authentic selves, where it really did get better for them, using the hashtag It Gets Better and hashtag Redken Hairdressers United, then we can help a huge number of people around the world to join us in the industry and to find their safe space.
Yeah, I love that. That's wonderful. And thank you for that was my next question on how do we get involved? Like, what do we do? Where do we go next? So wonderful. One question, I would love to get your take on why it's important to work continuously through the years on initiatives like this, outside of just, Pride Month, which we are still a few days in, but why do we continue initiatives like this from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, launching in Pride Month was something that made a lot of sense to us for
Yeah.
very obvious reasons. At the same time, bullying doesn't only happen in one month of the year. There is an opportunity again in October with the National Anti-Bullying Month when we will bring the story forward again in a big way. And we think that overall, we really, in this particular phase of the program, want to focus on helping individuals from the LGBTQIA plus community to really understand that salons are a welcoming place, and to help the industry to learn how to make their salons a more welcoming
Sure.
place to consumers. At the same time, we've had such positive reception to this initiative already, and we're seeing some
Awesome.
great initiatives and some great videos from people, many of whom are telling a story from an LGBTQIA plus perspective, and some who are telling a story from another perspective about their complexities and difficulties and how the hairdressing industry accepted them as their authentic selves when they came in. So we
Great.
see that this is really only the beginning. It's the tip of the iceberg. And having said that, it really, our ability to keep building on this momentum throughout the year after Pride Month really depends on all of us as an industry taking just a few minutes out of our time to say, it matters to me that we
Mhm.
bring new people into our industry who know that this is a safe space. And I'm going to take just the 5 minutes it takes to record myself on a video and post it.
So after they have recorded that video, used the hashtag, posted it, will there be, you mentioned building kind of a library. Where will that library be housed? Just on social, on a .com? If I'm a hairdresser going, I need some inspo, like, or I'm going to join the industry, I need to learn more about this. Where do I go?
Right. The most important thing that we can do in social today is to leverage our own networks. And
Yeah.
so posting the video on your own social channels using hashtag it gets better and hashtag Redken Hairdressers United is an important way for us to build momentum so that
Yeah.
your followers tag and then they record a video and we keep building that momentum. In addition to that, through our partnership with It Gets Better, which is a website and also have their own social channels, we will augment all of these efforts by individuals with our own in order to put them into their website. And so we're working with It Gets Better to have a spot where you can go specifically to say, actually, I want to hear specifically from people who are hairdressers
Yeah.
about how hairdressing changed their lives. And so it will be available on all of the above. But again, the real
Okay.
point is if we simply all get it up on our social, we can spread it like the wildfire that we want it to be.
I love that. So thank you so much for all of your insight and for sharing, a bit more about Redken Hairdressers United and hashtag it gets better. And now we're going to move on to something we call the tease quick takes, if you're
Oh
up for
boy.
it.
Oh, I am so here for it. Bring it on, baby. Let's do this.
Okay. Number one is, what is a quote that you love?
Can I have two?
You can have two.
Okay.
Yes.
My first one is darkness cannot exist in the presence of light,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
I think
I
all of
like
us are
that.
the light, and
Yeah.
darkness cannot exist around us. That's my favorite. My second is the famous Winston Churchill quote: "Never, never, never give up."
Hmm. So pointed, both of them, for the time that we're living in and the time that we may see in the future. So those are very, very good reminders for all of us. So thank you.
Of course.
What was your last Google search?
Let's see. At oh god o'clock last night when I really should have been in bed, I was Googling a specific, this is so ridiculous. I was Googling heated floor systems for Airstreams because I'm
Oh,
renovating a vintage Airstream
no.
and my precious little feet could not possibly touch the cold floor. So, so I was actually, and it actually is a thing. I thought I was being a genius thinking of this idea, but actually they exist. So the good news is I bought them.
You did. Okay, what has the process been like? And what is your ultimate plan with the Airstream? Like, where are you going?
Well, right now, what I'm doing is just driving the company entirely crazy that's doing the renovation for me. I warned them at the onset of this project. You're going to love the outcome of this more than any
Mm,
renovation you've
but
done. And the process is going to be painful for you. Because every level of detail, I will tell you, right down to the exact thing to use, the exact paint color, the exact.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I'm driving them a little bit crazy, but it's a wonderful creative outlet for me
I'm sure.
to have fun with. And ultimately, I don't know. I love exploring
Okay.
and discovering, and so I think we'll hook it up to my husband's gigantic truck
Okay.
and start driving until we find some place to park, I guess.
That's amazing. I love that. It's a great project. It seems daunting for you and for the company, as you mentioned.
It's daunting for all people involved.
That's great. I love that you warned them though. I mean, they had their out. They could have walked, but
They
they didn't.
fully had their opportunity. It's too late now, so they're just going to have to deal with me.
Okay, what is the cringiest trend that you've ever tried?
Oh, geez. The problem with this one is there are far too many from which to choose. I would say probably mid 90s double processed platinum hair with
Yeah.
Versace silk shirts at the same time. This
Yes.
combination should never have happened.
I love that for you. And if you can find a picture, that would be even better.
Oh, I have them. Whether I'm willing to show them, share them. Story.
Those are very cringy.
They are. At the time, I loved them both. That's the sad.
Yeah. I mean, you were fully owning it, I'm sure, at the
I
time.
really was.
Okay, what animal are you most like?
I would say, well, people call me a maverick all the time, and it turns
Okay.
out that a maverick is a real animal.
Oh,
But it is. Who knew, right? So a
yeah.
maverick is typically very often it's like a bull that is not
Okay.
branded, which I think
Okay.
describes me very well. I'm a bit of a bull, a bit of a like charge ahead and make it happen.
Yeah.
But I've refused to allow anybody to brand me so far.
Huh. Well, who knew that underlying meaning of a
Right?
maverick?
Who knew?
Wow. I like that.
People kept
That's
calling me
wonderful.
Maverick, and I was like, I should really understand the origin of this word since everybody's calling me this. And it turns
Yeah.
out it's something that kind of applies, so I've embraced it.
Wow. Sans Top Gun, like you're going the other way.
Going all the way. Yeah.
Okay, what is one product that you cannot live without? And it does not have to be in your portfolio. And it can be something that's like a kitchen product, lifestyle, home. Like what's your jam? What can't you live without?
I cannot live without Siri Chudon candle spirituelle. It's a no, sorry, it's called it's the Siri Chudon candle called yeah, it's spiritual. I love it. It like it
Oh,
makes the whole room smell like an old church in a tiny town in southern Italy that no one has stepped foot
ooh,
in like 5 years.
whoa. Okay.
I love it.
I'm gonna need to try it because that is very specific.
Yeah, well, they're a little bit of a splurge, but
Okay.
I think it's a splurge worth it.
Yeah. All right. I'm here for that. All right. What is advice for those who want to make it to the top of our industry?
Well, I think the quote that I use from Winston
Mm-hmm.
Churchill is the first and most important. Never, never, never give up. You know,
Yeah.
when I was telling Kelly about I was joking about the fact that I wasn't the greatest technical hairdresser early in my career.
Yeah.
I could have said, you know what, this
Yeah.
isn't. It's
Okay.
not for me. I'm not as good as the person next to me, technically speaking. I'm probably never going to be Vidal or Trevor or one of these sort of iconic names, but I didn't, and instead I said
Yeah.
I'm going to lean into the parts that I am
Hmm.
good at and that I really love, and I'm going to get to be the best at that.
I like
And
that.
so I think the thing about our industry is that it's so big. There's so many things you can do in our
Hmm.
industry
Hmm.
that I think to keep your mind very open and to determine what is the part of the business that makes your heart beat a little bit faster,
Yeah.
lean into that and then commit yourself to whatever you have to do to be the very best at that.
Yeah. I love that. That's brilliantly stated. Thank you very much. Okay, so that concludes our podcast for today, unless there's anything else that you would like to share with our audience.
The only other thing, Kelly, that I would say, first, thank you again for having me. This has been such a blast. I'm really bummed that I now have to go have like a proper meeting because I really preferred to have stayed on here talking with you all day long about this industry that I love so
Yeah,
much. I would
amazing.
only say that, in our industry, the only thing keeping any of us from achieving any level of greatness that we can begin to imagine for ourselves is ourselves. Each of
Yeah.
us has the power in ourselves. And the greatest way I find to have the motivation to do that is to be that light for somebody else.
Okay.
Bring that value to somebody else. Be a mentor. Be somebody who people look to when they need that extra little push. Be somebody who tells the whole world that this industry is a great place for you. When you bring value to people, they'll bring value back, and our
Yeah.
industry is ready for more value. So thank you for all you
Yes.
do to do that, to broadcast those messages. It's so inspiring, and it's such a pleasure and an honor to have been asked to be a tiny little part of your growing universe.
Well, thank you. We will welcome you into our physical or meta universe anytime.
I look forward to it. It's a date.
It's a date. Thank you so much. What an honor to get to know you. I appreciate your time. I could imagine that those meetings are calling, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much.
You bet.